Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Skyrim. I recently got my copy of the Skyrim Adventure Game from Modiphius, and I noticed that it has a really neat tutorial that you can play through to learn some of the ins and outs of the game. And so I thought we would actually film that, walk through that together, and see what this game is all about. This is a adventure game. It can be played solo, which is what we'll be doing here, and we've been told to put aside some cards and components, pick a particular character to play. In this case, we've picked the Khajiit. We've got some starting equipment up here according to this setup, and some starting resources. These are a couple plants we've picked up. We've got our final blow token here, placed where we're supposed to. These are our different attributes that we will test for different things: health, stamina, and magicka. We've got a limit for our tracks here, and the setup in the rule book tells us to pick up this particular healing potion to begin, and that's where we also are told to grab some plants. So yeah, we put aside all this stuff, and we've put aside the events that we're told to put together. Up there, there's 4 tutorial events we'll grab, and we have a starting quest here, which is the Words of the Daedra. So we're going to go back to the opening of this tutorial mission. Once we've gotten through all this setup, there's a few other things it tells us we need to do. So on the front of our starting main quest card here, we'll see that there is a line, and we're going to read until we reach that line of information about our quest. So in this starting quest, it tells us to go ahead and read that, and the red part here is just flavored text, so we'll go ahead and read that as well. My little pawn, you were living a busy life, agent for the Thalmor, and more importantly for me. Now do my bidding. I want that place empty. The reason? You need no reason. So this is the words of a Daedra that we're hearing, as we are one of their servants or followers, and it tells us to place one of our colored objective markers in the cave in Whiterun. So we're going to look up to the beautiful map of Skyrim. White here in the middle is the cave in Whiterun Hold. So we'll put an objective marker right there. And if we move on, we'll see that it tells us to put our Khajiit mini here, which a lot of these sculpts are the same as the miniatures game from Modiphius as well, so it's cool to see those. I just started putting some of those together and just started painting here for Christmas, so it's neat to see them pop up in the same game. We've got a spot for quests over here. We don't have any of those quite yet. World quests. And up there we have a degradation track for each of the holds that we'll find in the world of Skyrim. But we're going to just start reading the tutorial. We're going to go through it together and learn how to play this game. So, without further ado, let's get into it. As we begin, though, we will read a little bit of flavor text here. These are in red, so these are words of the Daedra as well, I believe. Moiva Karnai, a servant of 2 masters. She obeys the commands of the Thalmor, the armed forces of the Aldmeri Dominion, and acts as their hands in Skyrim. But she also obeys me. For now, our goals are aligned, but how long will that last? So these things right here are quest markers. Quest markers help you quickly find where you need to go on the game board. They're sometimes used for other purposes like tracking progress during a quest, but these markers can be either colored, meaning they belong to a specific player, they belong to us, or they're gray, meaning that they're meant for any player who reaches that particular space on the game board. Once a player moves onto a quest marker and resolves their quest there, the quest marker is removed from the game board. So once the quest this is tied to is completed, it goes away. So failing main quests may lead to negative consequences for your character's future. There are other types of quests that we'll cover later on. All right, so we are set up. We have our marching orders. We're trying to follow the words of our Daedra that we've been listening to and get just a space over to this cave in the Whiterun Hold. That's what we're doing. The world and the stage is set. So we start every turn by drawing an event card, and these cards are going to indicate global events that happen within the world. We're going to draw an event card, and we know what they are because we set up the deck. Those are way over there, so let's go ahead and draw it. It is the Troll Threat card. All right, so let's read that now. This is the Troll Threat card we knew was coming. Someone disturbed a group of trolls, and they're now on a rampage. So we're going to place an objective marker in a mind in Hjalmarch. So we've got that set aside over here. Let's find Hjalmarch. It is up here, and it looks like that's a cave. That's not particularly what we want. We want the mine, so probably up over here near the Pale. Let's place that there. So now that we've set up what this quest wants us to do, since this is a world quest, it's actually going to go over here in the designated spaces for those. So we'll put it right up here on the top. Like main quests, these will give you a task to complete, and unlike main quests, the world quest can be completed by any player. Most event cards will add threat tokens, and these represent increasing chaos and disarray in the world. So each time a card prompts you to add a threat token, you will choose to place it either on a card with a threat limit in the top right corner, or the stronghold chart on the top of the game board. That's up here that we pointed out earlier. So adding threat tokens to the stronghold chart will degrade the strongholds, adding negative effects to each of them. That's no good, but sometimes we want to do that instead of degrading a particular event that we're really trying to complete. So we're going to take a threat token that the event card gives you, and we're going to place it on the world quest. After drawing an event and resolving any additional game effects, players move on the game board. All right, so we'll put it here, and there's a limit up over there. After we got that squared away, we move on to what our player character can do, what our Khajiit can do, which is move, and each player can move 4 spaces, which I think is pretty generous. We use the roads on the map that move from one space to another, strongholds, dungeons, and wilderness areas, which look like that little tree icon, are represented by the diamond-shaped spaces on the board. So we're going to move to the cave in Whiterun. So let's go down here. And this is where our objective marker is. It's time to face the first main quest. Once you've reached the destination in the card, the cave in Whiterun, read past the line at the end of the card, and you'll see the objective is clear 1 cave or dungeon. So you can see that here. Yep. I reach the cave, I feel exhausted, but I must endure. Too much is at stake. This means we'll have to explore the dungeon to finish it to succeed. So if you move to a dungeon during your turn, you can explore it as an action for the turn. In this case, doing so also completes the main quest, so this action serves 2 purposes at the same time. So we would normally draw random enemies depending on the chapter we're playing, but in this case, we're going to find the mud crab enemy, as well as the bear in the animal deck. So we've just put those aside here. Place what's called a red armor cube. That's these right here. You have plenty of them. On this particular space on the mud crab, as indicated right there. So we're going to begin combat with the sneak awareness and ambush phase, which is explained in full on page 25 of the rulebook. Any player can choose to sneak up on an enemy as long as they're not wearing heavy armor, and we are not. We're wearing a hide armor. All right, so since we're not wearing heavy armor, Moivo has light armor and a dagger. We know that because of what we set up when we began. We can sneak, but we have to do some skill tests first. Dice rolls in the game are called skill tests. In a skill test, you would roll 3 skill die, and we have a whole bunch of them that the game gives us, plus any additional die that we've learned with a specific skill. In this case, the skill is sneak, so Moivo would roll 3 dice. However, our equipment is going to give us bonuses to sneak. The hide armor and the dagger both add 1 die to a skill test for sneak. We can see those here. This means we gain additional die for each one. And finally, the Khajiit character, if we look over here, they too have a sneak bonus. Since we're going into combat with our night vision, we could lose a health point to gain sneak +1. And we start with claws, not fists, although we were given a dagger because we're playing the tutorial. So this is as good a time as any to use this ability. We're going to move our health cube, which is over here, the red one, down 1, losing a health, to increase the die pool for the skill test. This means we've lost a health, by the way. So Moiva will therefore test Sneak with 6 dice, the base 3, 2 for equipment, and 1 for the ability. There are 3 different symbols on the skill die. There is this Celtic looking circle. We've got a triangle here with the Skyrim symbol in it, and then kind of an Imperial or maybe even Stormcloak diamond. And each of these has a certain number on the die, so they're increased chances for rolling them based on the particular symbol. So depending on which symbol and how many of it you're required to roll, the skill test will be easier or harder. Each die has 3 circles, 2 triangles, and 1 diamond. All right, so now we need to turn our attention over to the enemies we're facing. We'll notice here as well that the mud crab has a sneak value, but this is actually their perception. So in order to successfully sneak past this mud crab, we need to roll 1 circle on the 6 die that we are rolling for this skill check. The circle is the icon for the test, and there will be different ones depending on what we're facing. It's a circle for the bear as well. So if we beat it, we'll succeed. So we're going to roll these 6 dice that we get now. And we'll just roll them up here. Oh, and sure enough, we did get some circles. For the tutorial, we're going to set every die to circle. That's what it tells us to do. I'm not really going to do that because, you know what, we already got a success. She is an expert infiltrator, and her sneak skills are the stuff of legends. Because we rolled equal or higher, in this case higher, the mud crab's sneak difficulty, which again is a 1, we succeed. When a sneak succeeds, you can choose to attack with any of our equipped weapons and resolve it. So on our dagger card, we can find 2 different attacks here. They're both one-handed, but we've got a swing and we've got a stab. Attacks in this game usually have a cost, so each time you attack, you pay the cost before you make an attack. To the right of the attack, we'll see this over here, we'll see the damage that will deal. A swing deals a light damage, which is that symbol, which is a yellow sword and shield. And stab is going to deal 2. Also in the sneak line of the iron dagger, which we'll see down there, we'll notice that our damage is doubled. So as the mud crab has 2 points of heavy armor, which is what this red symbol here indicates, we are going to instantly defeat it by using our stab attack. Up there, so it's 2 light damage, and you need 2 light damage for every 1 heavy armor that you see. So 2 light damage times 2, which is a total of 4, making 2 heavy armor go away. And one interesting thing about this game is the enemies don't actually have a health track or anything like that. They just have an armor value, and once that armor value is depleted, they are defeated. But we need to make sure that we spend the cost for the particular attack here, which is a stamina. That's the green track here, so we'll lower our stamina value. And we're going to remove the heavy armor token from the mud crab. After defeating an enemy, we're going to gain the rewards. They're listed on the bottom of the enemy card, so in this case, it looks like there is an experience that we'll gain. All the players that are involved in the combat gain this reward. And the first experience, as you can see on the bear, is typically experience, but there'll be some other things we get later. But for the mud crab, it's just 1 experience. So we'll take one of those tokens and put it in our spot here on our player board, meaning we've gained an experience. Mud crab doesn't have any additional rewards, as we know, so now we can go on and face the next enemy, which in this case is the bear. And after completing any encounter within a dungeon before starting the next one, characters replenish their magicka and stamina, as if we've just taken some time in a dark corner to replenish. So health stays the same, so we haven't used a health potion or anything, but we will get this stamina cube back. So there we go. Here's the second character we're going to fight, the bear. And we're going to place a yellow armor cube, which is light armor, on the 4 in this particular case. A little bit different armor and attacks coming. It's time to face the second enemy, which is a bear. This is a tougher foe, so Moiva will have to make a real effort this time. We start again by sneaking. Most innate abilities on character cards can only be used once per game, and Moiva already used her Khajiit innate ability this turn against the Mud Crab, so she'll be rolling 5 skill dice instead of 6. So we're removing this. Bear has a sneak difficulty of 3, so it's a little more perceptive. So we're going to roll 5 skill dice. We'll take the 1 dice away. All right, so let's roll these. And we did not get 3 circles. We are not at a success. And in fact, the game would actually tell us to fail this test on purpose just to see what happens when we do. In this case, they will tell us to set 2 dice to circle and the 3 remaining to the diamond. It was very close, but Moiva failed. The bear wakes up before we can strike. So during combat, after sneak awareness and an ambush phase, each turn starts with an enemy action. So enemies go first beyond that initial phase. We're going to roll the enemy die, which is just this red one here. The result of the die tells us which action the enemy will use, and you'll see there's different values on their cards. The Mud Crab had a value as well, which was using their pincer. If any icons listed on the attack are rolled, the enemy will take that action. For example, if the skull and the axe are listed in their swing attack, we can see that there. So the tutorial tells us to actually set the die to the axe icon, which we can see right here. We'll set it here, and we can look back at what the bear is going to do, and it's going to do a crush attack, which is going to deal 2 heavy damage. That means that the bear will now attack with that crush attack, and the damage on the right side of the crush is too heavy. As Moiva only has 2 light armor, we can see that light symbol once again. She's going to suffer the full damage of the attack. So right now our health is nearly full. We can afford to suffer some damage. Slide your health cube 2 slots to the left to represent that damage. Now we get to attack. We're going to choose an action from our dagger. And it's suggested that we use the stab attack. This is one-handed. It deals 2 light damage. And we're going to need to pay a stamina to use it. And we're going to roll 3 dice. So the tutorial section then tells us to roll this particular roll here on the die, changing the faces to the circular symbol. And since this is the outcome that we have from the roll, this means our attack has actually failed. But not all hope is lost. Most skill tests and all combat skill tests, with the exception of sneaking, allow you to push. When you push, you spend 1 resource. In combat, it's an endurance, the green cube track. Unless you're attacking with a spell, in which case it's a magicka cube track move. You can roll an additional die. So at the beginning of the game, we can do this only twice per combat round, which is listed on our character card. But as we level up, we'll be able to push more times each round. So we're going to do that now. We're going to spend a stamina. We're going to move to our character track. We'll spend a stamina to push, which means we can roll a skill die. And for the sake of the tutorial, we'll set the die to this triangular symbol here. So she pushed through the challenge and succeeded. The stab attack deals 2 light damage. So because the bear actually has 4 light armor, we would only get to move down 1 damage, because we always at least deal 1 damage to an enemy, even if we didn't quite make it through what we need to get. So we're going to slide their light armor 1 slot downwards. And this will end the combat round. So we're going to start a second combat round with the bear attacking. Let's roll the enemy dice. And we'll set the result to a blank, so we can see what happens when that is rolled. This means the bear is going to miss the attack. And we're going to try our swing action now. The advantage of this action is that it doesn't cost any stamina, but succeeding is far more difficult, and the damage is lower. So as you can see, no cost here. That's an easier roll. We're only going to deal 1 armor damage. So we're going to set all 3 dice to the symbol we need. And they're calling it here an absolutely epic roll. Rolling additional diamonds doesn't change the effect of the attack. The skill test only determines whether you succeed or fail. So again, we're going to reduce the enemy armor point by 1, meaning they have 2 armor. Now we start a third combat round, and we're going to roll the dice, but we're going to set it to this skull icon, which means they're going to do a maul attack. It's damage of 3 heavy, and Moiva only has 2 light, so she would be seriously injured by this attack. And when an enemy attacks, the player suffering the attack can choose to attempt a defensive action instead of attacking. Defensive actions are easy to spot on equipment cards. They look like attacks but have no damage or special effects attached to them. And we're going to check our dagger here. And sure enough, we can see that we have a dodge action we can take instead of attacking next time. The action, it doesn't have any skill attached to it, so it's just roll 3 skill test die and against a difficulty of 1 circle. And we're going to spend the stamina we need to do so. And we're going to set the dice back to that set we had earlier, which is these 3 Celtic circles. So she successfully dodges the bear's attack. So when a defensive action succeeds, the enemy attack is canceled, even though the players forsake their own attack. We could keep on playing combat rounds until either the bear or Moiva is dead. Instead, by the grace of our Daedric Masters, we're just going to say that the bear drops dead, so we continue on through the tutorial. So we'll move, discard the bear and the mud crab, remove their cubes. And defeating the bear actually gives us 1 XP, which we can see here in the corner. So we'll give ourselves that XP, bringing it up to 2. The defeated bear also has a choice of 2 different awards. We can either take a basic treasure, which is indicated by this symbol and the B inside of it. We could also take a plant component. For now, we're just going to take the plant component and put it on its space on our player board. We have completed a dungeon. Each time a dungeon is completed, the player dealing the killing blow gains a basic treasure. In the game, we could draw a random card, but in this case, we're going to take a specific card, which are Jester's Glove. So we're going to take them from the basic treasure deck and place it on the ring slot on our player board, our character board. So that would be over here, and we have 4 cards we can fit in here, indicated by the 4 icons that we see. And then I've got the gloves just put aside here. They add 1 to sneak. We'll put them over in that slot there. These gloves are going to give us a bonus to sneak, as we just saw, making her even more of a world-renowned master of disguise and concealment. Completing the cave dungeon at this point serves another purpose. We've completed her main quest. So as you can see, we had an objective down here, which says clear 1 dungeon. We're going to flip this main quest card and read the success section. You can see here, there's a success and a failure section. So here's what it says. When leaving the cave, I get the feeling that that will not be the last bear that I face. And we're going to gain 3 more XP. That night, I find a note from the Thalmor under the door. Dangerous criminals have been spotted in Skyrim. Use your contacts to capture them. Find their names on the back. Payment, as usual. You are my pawn. This is the Daedra speaking again. I'm tired of these Altmer. Ignore their request. That's an order. So we now have 2 options we can do here. We can either ignore the Thalmor to obey the Daedric Prince, which would give us a different quest, or we can follow along with them. We can't ignore the Thalmor, as we see there in option 1. Let's see what the rules want us to do. We're going to choose to side with the Thalmor, which will not make the Daedric Prince happy. This choice will prompt you to draw another main quest card, which is card T6, and read it until we reach the line. Okay, we've got that nearby. It's called the list. I have some contacts in Windhelm who owe me some favors. Time to get even. So we're going to place a quest marker in Windhelm. Right. So we'll move this from the dungeon we just cleared and place it over in Windhelm.